Yeah, so the first theme that I would like to talk with you about, in the broader sense, what role it plays for hyperliving, is community. This is for me personally like a leading drive. The leading, well, it's quite an abstract term, of course. That's why I want to ask you, what is really a general meaning of community in your project? Because from what my reaction to your project is that it plays a very big role, to build this user experience. But it's often focused maybe on an individual experience, or where is the place of community, and is it a big element that often in your project it's a short stay function. It's not building the community in a very long term.
Sure.
So how do you see this?
Community is crucial. Building a community is the best skill you can have, whether it's a brand or people or person. Everything happens on a community right now. I mean, what's happening over social media and how people are connecting and how they are interacting with each other. I think it's thing that will grow with time. I think it's the most important thing that happened to the humanity in the last 100 years. Building community, it's super exciting and easy online. I mean, for some people, it's not. I mean, building a community on social media, it's easier than building a real-time community among people. Imagine that our video probably will be watched thousands of, maybe hundreds of times, and our conversation can bring value to people in a matter of 10,000 meanings. Like people can take value from our conversation and do it for their own purpose. They can recognize value in different ways. We couldn't imagine how they will take value from this conversation. And this is the most beautiful thing that happened to humanity, I think, in the last 100 years, because building a community over a topic online in social media, it's bringing people together on one topic. It's creating value, ultimate value between people, whether it's 5 or 500 or 5,000 people. So for me, it's not like the number of likes matters. The number of likes doesn't matter. The number of people which take value from your content matters. So it actually, if the content helps people solve their own problems and maybe go further with their inspiration, go further with their projects or whatever they're doing in their life at this point, it matters. And if it's happening online, it's accelerated thousands of times than in real time, in real reality. And when we talk about the platforms in old school real estate, like co-living, co-working, hospitality, there's a matter of, let's say, I don't know, from 200 or even from 200, 1,000 units. I mean, rooms, maybe 1,000, maybe 700 rooms. It's those people can be connected by a purpose. Usually, this is the modern real estate, to connect people with a purpose in one building. It's not a, universal thing for everyone forever. It's something crucial, something narrowed down. That's why when I was judging the Coliving Awards and I was selecting the projects, there was so many interesting projects, but some of them had the purpose. Some of them had the purpose of building a community. And when you build a community, it's a matter of purpose. The people that have shared the idea, they have shared it, they are sharing an idea, they're sharing the style of living, they're sharing the goal for life, for everyday life. And this is building a community that those people can actually connect and share the experiences. They can talk about projects, they can talk about the weather, whatever. They have the common topic. So when you design this kind of experience in reality, the old world, I would say, the physical world, when you design this kind of environment, you must understand those people. You must understand what are their needs. For example, when I talk about the Italian building by Mason V, the community is built around people which is sustainably focused, which are working. You see by the interior design, this is about the work-life balance. It's about the building a happy life, happiness with every day. It's not about being posh, not about luxury, not about scale. It's about here and now. So if you can build a brand or an environment, physical environment, which has values, which has those values in every aspect. I'm not talking about interior design only. It's about the location. It's about the price range. It's about the branding. It's about everything. If you can build this around the purpose, the people will connect and they will build a community. But the difference between the real estate in old world and in the digital world, the future, it's that we are talking about the 500 or maybe 200 units or maybe 1,000 units where people will live. And when you talk about the hyper-living concept, or when we think about the digital experience of brands, we're talking about the millions of people. It's completely okay to connect thousands of people with the same purpose online, because it happens like that. Everyone has the device which can connect you to the other people, and they can share ideas. They can share the type of living. And it's not a matter of building a physical objects, which will, they have a lot of limitations. The physical objects has a lot of limitations, like the price, the concrete is, expensive, the wood is expensive, the land is overly expensive. So those are limitations of the physical world. In digital, you don't have the land yet. You don't have so much limitation. So you can actually create the environments for people to share the ideas without the only matter is your imagination. The only limitation is what you can imagine. Because people, whether it's in a physical world, whether it's in digital, they will share the same values. And when you build on values, you build the experience. The values are the most important thing. The values are the thing that connects people with each other. So that's why in our projects, we want to overly focus on values, whether we design for Novotel, whether we design for Tribe hotels, whether we design for co-living brands like Student Depot or, Smarty or other brands. We always associate values with brands because brands are like people, Brands should have their own character, their own personality. The brands are like people and they will be manifested in digital. So that's the reason I'm super interested in brand experience, because those brands which we connect with in the physical way, they would have a personality online with a matter of artificial intelligence, branding, and values. They can have values. We have already examples that the brands will be like people online. So whether we are still people, we have our emotions, we are organically created creatures. We have our own history. We are programmed by DNA. So when we go into online, this doesn't change that much. We're still in our minds. We're still thinking the same schematic patterns. So we still will be celebrating values. The values are the things that differentiate people from other creatures and from other creations of ours. We have our own values and we create them. We change them. We are built from our values. So when you talk about the connection between the physical world and digital world, it's a matter of values. And when we create a project, we start with values. We call this experience project. We call it experience design. It's a matter of touch points, It's a matter how do you get connected? The touch point whether it's a brand and a person, how do you actually touch with each other? And what is this touch? Is it rough? Is it raw? Is it intellectual? Is it emotional? So this kind of touch is some other, when the neurons in our brain they're not connected directly. It's not neurons in our brain are not connected directly to each other. They are very close to each other, and those environment which is around the neurons, it creates electrical signals that shares the information.
That's the information, yeah. Yeah, you raised.
It's like this is you create whether it's a real estate, whether it's digital, you create environments for people to have this click, like neurons.
Yeah.
It's a net.
Yeah, you raised a lot of interesting points.
I'm sorry. So there's a lot of tons of material. I'm sorry.
No, yeah. It's great. It's great. It's. I think you touched several things that also connect with each other in other way. What you mentioned about the change that happened in the last 100 years and how, well, organically, biologically, we haven't changed. I think the way we need the meaning, the purpose, still now, as we did before. Also, what hasn't changed that much is our perception of how much we can handle in terms of community. The fact that we are able to now communicate with millions of people in one moment doesn't mean we can really handle that or turn it into a meaningful relationship. So that's why I think we experimented in the last 30 years a lot with the broadening the possibilities of communication. With hyperliving, I'm looking for the potential to reach a broad number of people, but then try to narrow it down to more what we are used to in a more natural environment, so that we filter through the 1,000 people that we live in a building with, because that's now the situation. It was 400 in the co-living that I lived in, but it already creates a feeling of a mass and not a community per se. It doesn't happen automatically, for both the fact that we are not able to feel comfortable with 400 people just by living in the same structure. And secondly, we are connected to billions of people at the same time. So it's easy to ignore merely 400 because we have billions that are connected with us online. So, I think that's why I see that there is much more attention needed to use digital and apply it in physical, and in this, what you said, in a purposeful way, not treat everyone generically. There is of course always also coming from architecture, to find the golden spot between something being flexible, adaptable, and generic. It's always difficult how to make it specific for the right people, but at the same time open for new possibilities. I think that's a very interesting task still to keep looking in the physical field, let's say. But I really believe that if we blend it in a more meaningful way with the digital, use this fact that it's changed. It's the idea of co-living is not something new per se. I mean, in the 60s, there was a lot of communal housing, especially here in Amsterdam or in countries like Copenhagen. It's still alive in this old way, but it didn't survive on a mass scale. Let's say there was some issues with basing something on social agreement only. The same way, let's say, the booming market of sharing cars wouldn't be as booming if we would say, okay, guys, let's buy a car together. We'll leave the key under the floor mat and leave $1 under and use it. Of course, it can work. It can work with your group of friends. It can also not work. And in mass scale, it definitely won't work. So the potential for digital has been used, for example, in mobility, I think, in a lot of smart ways, and that make our cities more healthy, with less cars and just less useless ownership often. Having a car for the sake of having a car. And that's the kind of direction that I would like to explore with hyperliving, that we just use it as a tool and not a destination,
Okay. Yeah, when we talk about co-living, I think it's about if the people are ready for that. Yeah, so people are becoming, people are creatures, like I said, which have their moment where they are ready for the change. We used to live in the buildings, in apartments with families for decades. And there was some co-living movements. There was some, really interesting stuff going on. But I think what happens right now, it's this digital revolution which happens with social media and all the stuff that rises every day, like cryptocurrency, blockchain, social media. So many things in fintech, for example, how we use finance and how we consider value online. So those things are changing so quickly that even the best minds on the planet aren't, on up to date every day. It's so many interesting movements happening that just a normal average person, which has their own life that they know and they were grown up in a special environment, they are not ready to change. So that's why there's a kind of momentum where the co-living will rise, in my opinion, and this won't happen so quickly as we can imagine. People are becoming increasingly changing their behavior with social media. Some of them are not really liked this experience, and they're lagging a little bit behind because of exposing yourself online can be very stressful for some. People don't like that experience that much sometimes. They are afraid of being judged, The people need to be prepared for this change. And this is the same with co-living. When you want to, you have your own parents and your home when you're grown up, and now you're asked to live in a completely different way. Not very high percentage of people would change their living. But when we take this into consideration and we try to design environments with actual people in mind, and we imagine how they will change on a certain timescales, so we can adjust our projects and our ideas to the actual pace of change. And this, I think, will matter the most in the future. In 1 to 3 decades, we'll see many new products arise for the living. Co-living is only a platform, it's an idea, but how people live changes. So some people will expect some kind of services which are not in the market immediately. Wow. There's so many expectations from living, they are not in the market. For example, my friend was, we as Mixed are a little bit planning to go into real estate, a little bit. We have some ideas how to bring some physical spaces to people in some scale. We won't be building, huge real estate company, but we'll be focusing on this kind of boutique experience because there's so many communities with narrowed down expectations, which there are not services on the market which are addressing those expectations, and they're building on it. That those enormous opportunities exist, and we see this. When, for example, people which are not connected, as you say, to the physical, owning a car, owning an apartment, they want to rent, they want to subscribe to living, they want to have this certain standard of living, they want to have the internet connection, the best possible. They want to have the place to recharge in nature. They want to have a place to work, like co-working. They want to have a place to feel alone, like they want to have their own space. They not want to live in a 20 square meters with 700 other people. They want to be connected to a community of 20 people, for example, with 100 square meters, and they are able to pay for this a lot of money. They're able to pay for that, but they are not. There are no offer on the market for them. And when you imagine how the market of expectation is differentiated by people imagining their own individual style of living and how many possibilities they have in mind, how they would like to live, and they're able to pay for that, but even by rent or ownership or whatever, other value they can, because when you see at the Bitcoin and blockchain and cryptocurrency, the new products they are arising, there's many tokens which are not dollars, which can be exchanged in another, so there's many of different platforms that are being created right now for people to connect and to actually live. And why is that happening? That's the most important question. Because people want to live their own fucking life. They deserve to be themselves and live the way they want to live. They want to live exactly the way they imagine. And believe me, there's no product on the market that addresses that.
Yeah, and then again, the role of the digital is for me to in a similar way to easier reach these people and to know that they exist, to know about their needs, and so to make. I see always the work of an architect a bit as a bet that we make the decision that, okay, this is the direction we go into. We base it on meeting with possible residents and so on, but it can go much deeper, not only in the early stage, but there's a huge potential just to keep it being able to update, that this also what you said, people want to live how they live, but it also changes. And that's the beauty, that if we could, in a sensitive, healthy way, make the connection between the designers and the residents and the developer, let's say, to keep that the process of designing doesn't end when we hand in the keys. It sounds big, but that it really starts there, and it grows. I think it's for the profit of everyone, actually, in a metaphorical and literal sense.
That the problem is that developers and investors are building the same shit over and over. I mean, they do not try to rethink the strategy. I mean, they're building the apartment flats, they're building the real estate. And it's the same like it was like 20, 30 years ago, but they haven't yet understood that everything has changed in the past 5 years.
Yeah, well, that's one of the main triggers. Why I'm here now with you. I'm in the business for almost 7 years, working for a regular architecture office, so I know how it's was being built. And here in the Netherlands, I think the standards of residential architecture is quite high. So at one point, I thought, that it feels like they cracked it. They found the solution how to build it, so now they just do it. But then I talked with a former mentor of mine. It's just stagnated. They really need to do it right. It is an old solution, but
we need to find the new ways. We need to find the new ways, because people will get frustrated very much. They will get their own apartment, whether it's rent or whether it's buying an apartment, and they will get frustrated. And they already are frustrated because of the space. They actually discovering, and they will discover with the digital that they can live differently. That they actually don't like what they got, but by they buying with their own money, they don't like the apartment. They don't like the height of the apartment. They don't like that it has standardized number of bedrooms. So those people, I mean, this was an utopian discussion 20 years ago, and some of our architects were experimenting with this, but still there was no there was the pace of change wasn't that big. Everything was set up. There was some movements, under the surface. But now with Instagram, TikTok, and everything is being blown away with the numbers of users. The people are actually experiencing online completely different world than in physical way. And the physical we need to adapt. The physical will need to keep the pace going. We need to change. But the change in physical isn't so easy. There's technology, like concrete technology of creating buildings, has over 100 years. It's not a technology of flexibility. It's a technology of traditional structure. You cannot flexibly change the shape of the environment in physical that easy, like online. You cannot customize it. So I don't know how it will be working out, but the frustration between the experience online and in a physical experience will be growing, and it will create tension. So the tension will need to be addressed. And there's some kind of me, and other forward-thinking designers need to take a look at it. How to create those environments for people to live and feel happy, like they do it online, or how to create an environment where people can be happier than they used to be. Like, how can they address the mental health issues, the depression and everything that people are experiencing online? Like the matter of communication between people is changing. The people are, there's some really exposure to judgment and to other things that are happening to people online. And they, some people will just flip away from it online. Just not for everyone. So there's a lot of things happening online, and a lot of things will need to happen in physical environment. So that's a work to do.
Yeah, well, personally, I think that the complete escape from online will become more and more impossible. So my approach is, in a way, accepting its existence in our life, but trying to rethink it. What's the healthy way to organize it? So not completely go off the grid.
Yeah.
And what you mentioned in our previous conversation, how the drive, the change will come from retail, because this is where the big money is. I think it's smart also to think with this factor, because I think in the real estate there's a lot. Money being just wasted. They provide a lot of space, but not a lot of purposeful space. It's not about the size of the roof terrace. It's about the really the purpose of it. I've lived in a building where there was really a huge amount of shared spaces, but they were most of the time empty. And it's both. It's the physical design, but I believe it's also the potential for the digital to help us to bring this purpose.
Yeah, sure. I mean, if you put, that's a great point you brought up here, because when you see the empty, well-designed common space, what if the digital would have a layer on it, and they will. What if we will help connect people with the space? What if we could be, brought from our rooms into the common space just because we know that there's someone waiting for us, or there's some experience waiting for us, and this can be animated by digital.
So this is the experiment I'm trying to run right now. It's not only thinking. That it should be there, but how it really works. What you mentioned before, people have already mixed feelings toward the online layer, so we have to do it in a smart and sensitive way. And I think there is a lot of very sociological issues that are known for centuries, because also, as we said already before, we haven't changed that much organically. And if we can learn from that and then use it in a good way, and I really mean it, it's I think it's easy to push a digital product and then not look at its impact in a broader social sense. It happened a lot, and we don't have to even mention that. But so I think a lot of subtle interventions, how we do it, and that it's not detached from each other. Maybe the first trials have to be putting digital layer over the physical space. But I think the ideal scenario is to really sit together, digital designers, sociologists, the architect, and create something that is a whole, an experience, to put it in simple words.
Yeah, it's when I think about the technology of the future, like the Facebook, Instagram, those platforms were created for the people to communicate. And the old tech advancement we are going through right now, electrical cars, space flight, everything. I think those leaders who are building those tech platforms are not essentially focused that much on emotions. I mean, they're building an empty houses, empty pipes, which people fill with content. And those the content, it's disturbing. The of course, people create tons of content which is created without the purpose, which is just a trash, and people are exposed to this trash. People create a lot of trash, We have our trash cans outside of the houses, and we recycle the trash. Hopefully, we'll do it, But what about the trash from social media? Is it recycled? I mean, we're exposed to this. Nobody is cleaning it. Like people have the mental, I think, issues with and anxiety coming from the social media. I think because of the trash we're exposed to, and some of the social media platforms, I'm going through the narrowing down the experience to your contexts. But they are not doing this because they're good people and they care about the humanity. They're doing this because they want to sell your advertisements. And that's the purpose, will not bring a well-being to people. So we need another layer which will civilize the social media. And they will bring the real experience for people, having in mind that those people need to have context and mental health stability, like coming from the content. Is any algorithm taking you into consideration? For example, let me bring an example. You have a really bad day. You have a really fucking bad day today, and you are sick and tired of this shit of people going through Bali trips, for example. Yeah, because you have a bad day and this brings you bad mood. Is there any algorithm that analyze your mood and differentiate the content you're receiving in your platform to your mood? Is there any algorithm asking? Can you answer that question, Mr. Mark Zuckerberg? Do you have any algorithm which are analyzing my state of mind today? Do you have the technology? Are you working on that one? Because I don't want a bullshit ads on my phone. I want to be the platform to connect with my friends and to connect with the inspiring content I have the mood for today. And you will be better preparing that algorithm right now because I'm sick and tired of those ads,
I think it's so important and so beautiful what you're saying, that the element of the emotions is so crucial. I mean, on our daily life, it's a driver, right? The mood that you'll come to the office with will define how you want to communicate with whom, about what, if you feel like chit-chatting about your weekend or not. Okay. And it's natural, and it's crazy that we don't have it in the virtual space. So I think
we need to address that because people will be, this will be creating a lot of frustration. People will frustrate with the social, and they will get they will have worse. They will worsen their life experience, and that's not the way we want to live in the future. Yeah. So we need to address the emotional layer of social media, emotional layer of digital, and this will bring the scale for this. I think for people to feel better, not the advertisement, not the commercial. But of course you need to go through it. But let's not make the same mistake like we did 100 years ago when this industrial revolution created 2 world wars because of the frustration people were going through. Let's create the better situation right now. Let's not play with the frustration of mass of the people. Let's not do it again. I mean, let's say that people are emotional and we need to like deal with it, and we need to make Facebook nice again. I mean,
humanize,
again.
Right? We have to humanize the digital space. And,
exactly. But those tech giants, what is super important. I mean, when I listen to the interviews with the tech giant leaders, they're not emotional. They're not caring about people. We need the empathy we need the empathetic leader in the tech industry to take this into the right direction. I mean, and this will happen, and this will accelerate the movement for people going into the digital and treating a digital as a layer on a physical world. So this we can actually, connect, the physical space with the digital in a way that we feel okay. That's my opinion. That's my opinion.
No, I completely agree, and I think it's a great lesson for so many different fields. Right,
I wish you that, and me, wish myself that, wish my family and every friend wish that we should be, waking up tomorrow in a world that has the empathy in social media, and not only with people which are creating content, but with algorithms. They need to have a fucking empathy. So that's a punchline for today.
Which is on us. We are treating the algorithm.
We need to bring that. We need to bring that up.